I think my body pretty much shut down on me, and I ended up having like 25 surgeries in the last 10 years.
Sadly, despite all those surgeries, Hulk Hogan's body gave out again, and the wrestling legend passed away. Now, new Bodycam footage of his final moments is going viral, and it's revealing some shocking details about how he really died. It's not what anyone expected. Let me break it down. The final bell. Hulk Hogan's death rocks the wrestling world. The wrestling world stood still on July 24, 2025, when news broke that would shake the very foundations of sports entertainment. Hulk Hogan, the legendary wrestler whose real name was Terry Gene Bollea, passed away at the age of 71 from cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida. But what happened next would turn into one of the most controversial moments in wrestling history, as footage emerged that would divide fans and ignite debates across social media platforms worldwide. The morning of July 24th began like any other in the wrestling icon's Florida residence, but by 9:51 a.m., everything had changed. Emergency responders were called to Hogan's home following a 911 report of cardiac arrest, and despite the efforts of paramedics from Clearwater Fire and Rescue, the man who had body-slammed Andre the Giant in front of 93,000 screaming Hulkamaniacs would never rise again. He was pronounced dead at Morton Plant Hospital at 11:17 a.m., marking the end of an era that had defined professional wrestling for decades. What made this tragedy even more heart-wrenching was the emergence of bystander footage that captured the final moments of the wrestling legend's life. A short video clip, reportedly filmed by a neighbor or onlooker, shows the emergency response outside Hogan's home. The footage reveals a group of paramedics and EMTs, about 4 to 6 visible, surrounding a stretcher carrying Hogan from his house to a waiting ambulance. Police vehicles and emergency lights illuminate the background, with Hogan's typical Florida suburban residence clearly visible in the frame. The most disturbing aspect of this footage shows responders aggressively performing chest compressions, desperately trying to revive the unconscious wrestling legend as they wheel the stretcher toward the ambulance. Hogan appears unresponsive on the stretcher, partially covered by a sheet or blanket, his massive frame unmistakable even in his final moments. No signs of movement from the Hulkster are noted in the footage, aligning perfectly with reports of him being in cardiac arrest. The clip, estimated to be between 10 to 30 seconds long, is handheld and shaky, filmed from a distance across the street, suggesting it was recorded on a smartphone by someone who witnessed this tragic scene unfold. Brother, let me tell you something. This wasn't just any ordinary death in the wrestling world. This was the passing of a man who had transcended the boundaries of sports entertainment to become a global cultural phenomenon. The footage first surfaced on social media platforms, particularly TikTok under users like @Mesay, before being picked up by major news outlets, including TMZ, OK Magazine, and the New York Post. The video has been described as disturbing and tragic, with many social media users criticizing the filming as invasive, calling neighbors scumbags for recording such a private moment. But here's where the story gets even more intense, dude. The 911 dispatch audio was also released by authorities, capturing the emergency response in real time. This brief, approximately 20-second clip obtained by TMZ features operators dispatching medics for cardiac arrest at Hogan's address, providing the audio soundtrack to what would become one of the most talked about celebrity deaths in recent memory. The wrestling community's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. WWE issued an official statement saying they were saddened to learn WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed away, calling him one of pop culture's most recognizable figures who helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. But it was the personal tributes from his fellow wrestlers that truly captured the magnitude of this loss. Ric Flair, the Nature Boy himself, was absolutely devastated. He expressed his shock and sorrow in a heartfelt statement. "I am absolutely shocked to hear about the passing of my close friend at Hulk Hogan. Hulk has been by my side since we started in the wrestling business. An incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father. Our friendship has meant the world to me. He was always there for me, even when I didn't ask for him to be. He was one of the first to visit me when I was in the hospital with a 2% chance of living, and he prayed by my bedside. Hulk also lent me money when Reed was sick. Hulkster, no one will ever compare to you. Rest in peace, my friend." Triple H, now the head of creative for WWE, recognized Hogan's immeasurable impact on the industry. He noted that WWE would not be where it is today without the larger-than-life characters that compete in the ring, and few, if any, loomed larger than Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea. He described Hogan as the archetype of what it meant to be a superstar, a global sensation that inspired millions. Shawn Michaels added his voice to the chorus of tributes, a legend, a larger-than-life presence. Hulk Hogan didn't just work in this business, he transformed it. Rest in peace, Hulkster. These weren't just polite corporate statements. These were the heartfelt words of men who had shared the ring, the road, and the brotherhood of professional wrestling with the immortal one. one. But the tributes extended far beyond the wrestling world, reaching into the highest levels of American politics and entertainment. President Donald Trump, who had maintained a decades-long friendship with Hogan, issued a moving statement. "We lost a great friend today, the Hulkster." Hulk Hogan was MAGA all the way. Strong, tough, smart, but with the biggest heart. He gave an absolutely electric speech at the Republican National Convention that was one of the highlights of the entire week. He entertained fans from all over the world, and the cultural impact he had was massive.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpamania run wild, brother.
Sylvester Stallone, who had worked with Hogan in Rocky III, shared his memories. "I had the pleasure of meeting this brilliant personality and showman when he was 26 years old. He was absolutely wonderful, and his amazing skill made Rocky III incredibly special. My heart breaks." Even Brooke Shields remembered a guest appearance on Suddenly Susan, stating, "Rest easy, Hulk. This moment and his entire guest episode on Suddenly Susan was a true highlight, sending love to all of his loved ones today." Now let me tell you something, brother. Hogan's death didn't come out of nowhere. This wrestling legend had been battling health issues for years, issues that would have put lesser men down for the count long before their final bell.
I think my body pretty much shut down on me, and I ended up having like 25 surgeries in the last 10 years.
The rumors about Hogan's declining health had been swirling for months before his death. In June 2025, radio host Bubba the Love Sponge claimed Hogan was in critical condition, sparking rumors that he was on his deathbed. A source mentioned that Hogan had undergone pretty serious heart surgery just weeks before his death, though it wasn't considered life-threatening at the time. Just days before his death, on July 21st, 2025, reports emerged that Hogan was not doing well, unable to speak due to damage to his trachea, and was resting at home with medical accommodations. But here's what's really going to blow your mind, Hulkamaniacs. This death, as tragic as it was, represents just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding the complex life and legacy of Terry Gene Bollea. The man behind the mustache, the bandana, and the 24-inch pythons lived a life so full of triumph, controversy, and redemption that it reads like the greatest wrestling storyline ever written. The rise and fall of an American icon, Hulk Hogan's journey from Thunder Lips to Trump Rally. Picture this dude, a fat, insecure teenager in Clearwater, Florida, who was so self-conscious about his body that he wouldn't take his shirt off at the beach. Hogan himself revealed this shocking truth about his early years. This wasn't the larger-than-life superhero that millions would come to worship. This was just Terry Bollea, a kid trying to figure out his place in the world.
Oh my gosh, a very fat kid that was afraid to take his shirt off. And even because I lived in Clearwater, Florida, went to school, Robinson High School, University of South Florida, I wouldn't take my shirt off when we go to the beach. And, so I kind of it was weird. So that's why I started working out and training. Kind of, yeah. Okay. But I was playing music. I was playing in a rock and roll band. And I kind of what we call heat. I had heat with all the athletes.
But here's where the story gets interesting. Hulkamaniacs. Young Terry had something that money couldn't buy: ambition and a burning desire to avoid working a real job. His path to stardom began with music, playing bass guitar in a band called Ruckus, which gained local popularity in the Tampa Bay area. The kid was making serious money for the 1970s. We're talking $300 to $400 a week when his friends were busting their backs at McDonald's for $2.50 an hour. The transition from musician to wrestler happened almost by accident. Hogan began his wrestling career in 1977, training under the legendary Hiro Matsuda, who famously broke his leg on the first day to test his resolve. Talk about trial by fire. He wrestled under names like Terry Boulder and Sterling Golden before adopting Hulk Hogan after a 1978 TV appearance where he outshone Lou Ferrigno, star of The Incredible Hulk.
Well, for me, and this sounds terrible, but I was doing anything to avoid working a real job. And, back then when I was playing music in 1972, 3, 4, during the 70s, if you're making $300, $400 a week, that was a lot of money. And when I say anything to avoid working a real job, I just wanted to not live the way I grew up. When I realized the way the rest of the world was, I didn't want to be in that cycle.
The real breakthrough came when Hogan caught the attention of Vince McMahon Sr. and later his son, Vince McMahon Jr. Hogan signed with the World Wrestling Federation, WWF now WWE, in December 1983, where his all-American persona, complete with red and yellow attire, bandanas, and that iconic horseshoe mustache, transformed him into a cultural phenomenon that transcended wrestling.
So my first run where we kind of took over the world was the night I beat the Iron Sheik in Madison Square Garden, January 23rd, 1984, the political storm, the landscape couldn't have been greater for the storyline. And once I beat him, Hulkamania took off, and it was this crazy run. We brought in, well, you saw it on TV. We brought in Cyndi Lauper, MTV jumped all over it. We had Liberace, Muhammad Ali, every celebrity you could see wanted to be part of it.
The explosion of Hulkamania wasn't just about wrestling. It was about perfect timing and brilliant marketing. When Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik for the WWF Championship on January 23, 1984, the political landscape couldn't have been more perfect for the storyline. Iron Sheik was actually the real bodyguard for the Shah of Iran, and at that time, Iran was holding 444 American hostages. So you had this real American hero, Hulk Hogan, going against what represented America's enemies, and when he won, Hulkamania exploded like a nuclear bomb across the entertainment world. But here's where the story takes a massive turn, dude. In 1993, Hogan left WWF to pursue acting and television opportunities, starring in films like No Holds Barred, 1989, and Suburban Commando, 1991. While his acting career had mixed results, his move to World Championship Wrestling, WCW, in 1994 would prove to be one of the most brilliant career moves in entertainment history.
And I had the black beard, and I became Hollywood Hogan, the bad guy. And the more evil and the horrible stuff I did, the more people cheered me. So the worse I got, and the nastier I got, and the meaner I got, and the evil, as evil as I could be, the people cheered me.
In 1996, Hogan underwent one of the most shocking transformations in wrestling history, becoming Hollywood Hulk Hogan, a villainous character leading the New World Order NWO stable. This heel turn was absolutely revolutionary. Here was the ultimate good guy, the hero of millions of children, suddenly spray painting championship belts and acting like the biggest bad guy in wrestling. And you know what happened? The more evil and horrible he became, the more people cheered him. Hogan won the WCW World Heavyweight Championship 6 times, with his first reign being the longest in the title's history.
And then once I went out in the ring, and got in the middle of the ring with The Rock in Chicago, and I listened to the people, I said, oh yeah, they're with me.
They still love me.
Yeah, and I was the bad guy.
But Hogan's influence extended far beyond the wrestling ring, brother. His crossover appeal led to roles in major Hollywood productions, most notably as Thunderlips in Rocky III, 1982, where he shared the screen with Sylvester Stallone. He also starred in TV shows and had his own animated series, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, cementing his status as a multimedia entertainer. Now here's where things get really interesting. Hulkamaniacs, Hogan's political evolution over the years. Initially, Hogan supported Democratic candidates, including Bill Clinton in the 1990s and Barack Obama in 2008. In 1998, he even announced a mock presidential candidacy on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno as a publicity stunt, showing he understood the power of media manipulation long before social media existed. But over time, Hogan's views shifted dramatically toward the Republican Party. By 2015, he was expressing interest in being Trump's running mate, though this was likely more playful banter than serious political ambition. However, Hogan's support for Donald Trump became very real and very public in 2024.
First interaction with Trump was we rented the Trump Plaza for WrestleMania 4 and 5. The same guy, and he's the same guy now that he was back then. He hasn't changed a bit. I mean, he's just a really quality person. And when they tried to kill Trump, someone that I knew personally, it affected me worse. And, I sat up off the couch and I said, that's it. This has to stop.
At the Republican National Convention, RNC, in Milwaukee, Hogan delivered a theatrical speech that became one of the most talked about moments of the entire event. In true Hulk Hogan fashion, he ripped off his shirt to reveal a Trump Vance tank top, proclaiming, "Let Trumpamania run wild, brother." He called Trump his hero and a real American hero, citing the assassination attempt on Trump in July 2024 as a major factor in his decision to publicly endorse him. Hogan's friendship with Trump dated back decades, beginning in the 1980s when Trump hosted WrestleMania 4 and V at his Atlantic City casinos. Their mutual showmanship and larger-than-life personalities created a natural bond that strengthened over the years. Hogan even spoke at a Trump rally at Madison Square Garden in October 2024 and expressed hope for a role in Trump's administration. But behind all the public success championship belts, and political endorsements, Terry Bollea's personal life was falling apart in ways that would make the most dramatic wrestling storylines look tame by comparison. Hogan's 3 marriages were marked by public drama, infidelity allegations, and significant personal fallout, contributing to his complex personal narrative that would eventually overshadow many of his professional achievements. His first marriage to Linda Claridge lasted from 1983 to 2009, producing 2 children, Brooke and Nick. What appeared to be a perfect wrestling family on their reality show was actually a powder keg waiting to explode. Linda accused Hogan of multiple instances of cheating, describing their divorce as messy and public. The divorce was particularly contentious because Linda alleged an affair with Christiane Plant, a close friend of Brooke's who also worked with her. Linda received over 70% of the couple's liquid assets, totaling $7.44 million out of $10.41 million, plus 40% ownership in Hogan's various companies. The divorce nearly bankrupted Hogan, with his lavish lifestyle and legal battles costing him hundreds of millions, bringing him perilously close to financial ruin by 2011. Hogan's second marriage to Jennifer McDaniel lasted from 2010 to 2021, but this relationship was overshadowed by the infamous sex tape scandal of 2012. The scandal significantly damaged Hogan's public image and contributed to the breakdown of this marriage as well. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of Hogan's personal struggles was his relationship with his daughter Brooke. By 2025, Brooke had been estranged from both parents for approximately 8 years, a rift that began around 2017 and persisted until Hogan's death. The breaking point in their relationship can be traced back to several factors, but the 2015 racism scandal played a major role. When leaked audio revealed Hogan using racial slurs while discussing Brooke's love life, it not only led to his temporary removal from the WWE Hall of Fame, but also deeply damaged his relationship with his daughter. Brooke's absence from Hogan's third wedding to Sky Daly in September 2023 was a clear indicator of their estrangement.
But this new marriage I have, my wife is a believer of my Lord and Savior, so we are right on track and perfectly synced.
Very cool.
Death, that's a believer. She sometimes, not that she didn't understand me, but sometimes, like with homeless people, I see homeless people, I don't give them $20. I don't want to talk about the lady I was married to before, but...
As Hogan's health continued to deteriorate and his family relationships crumbled, the wrestling legend found himself facing the greatest challenge of his life, not in a wrestling ring, but in the court of public opinion, where his past mistakes and personal demons would be exposed for the entire world to see, threatening to overshadow everything he had accomplished in his legendary career. Scandal, redemption, and the complex legacy of the immortal Hulk Hogan. The earthquake that shook Hogan's world to its very foundation came in July 2015, when a leaked audio transcript from a 2007 sex tape surfaced, revealing him using racial slurs, including the N-word, during a private conversation. The remarks were made while discussing his daughter Brooke Hogan's dating life, specifically expressing discomfort about her reportedly dating a black man. This wasn't just some random outburst. This was recorded evidence of attitudes that contradicted everything the heroic Hulk Hogan character represented. The audio was part of a sex tape recorded without Hogan's consent, which was central to his legal battle with Gawker Media. But here's where it gets even worse, dude. Additional recordings surfaced, including jailhouse phone calls from 2008 between Hogan and his son Nick, who was serving time for a car accident. In these calls, Hogan used the N-word again, referring to Nick's black cellmates, further fueling the controversy and proving this wasn't just a one-time mistake. Hogan lost endorsement deals and was removed as a judge on WWE's Tough Enough after just 5 episodes. His public appearances were severely limited, and his reputation took a hit that many thought would be impossible to recover from. For a man whose entire career was built on being the ultimate good guy, this fall from grace was absolutely catastrophic. Several African-American wrestlers had varying reactions to the scandal. Booker T and Mark Henry accepted Hogan's apology, with Booker T stating he forgave him for the sake of moving forward. In fact, Booker T shared a fascinating story about their relationship, revealing that despite the controversial comments, Hogan had never tried to get him fired or treated him poorly in their professional interactions.
Hulk Hogan, he says, Hulk, what do you think about Booker T calling you the N-word? And Hulk Hogan goes, well, if I'm an N-word, I'm a good N-word. And that was it.
Hogan's own response to the scandal was immediate and remorseful. In a statement to People on July 24, 2015, he said, 8 years ago, I used offensive language during a conversation. It was unacceptable for me to have used that offensive language. There is no excuse for it, and I apologize for having done it. This is not who I am. I believe very strongly that every person in the world is important and should not be treated differently based on race, gender, or orientation, religious beliefs, or otherwise. In July 2018, WWE reinstated Hogan into the Hall of Fame after he made numerous apologies and worked with young people to educate them about his mistakes. However, his return to WWE programming was met with mixed reactions, and even his final appearance on January 6, 2025, during WWE Raw's Netflix debut, was met with boos from parts of the crowd, showing that some fans never fully forgave him. But the racism scandal wasn't the only controversy that would rock Hogan's world, brother. The sex tape scandal that preceded it was equally devastating. The sex tape scandal began in October 2012, when Gawker Media published a 1-minute, 41-second clip of a 2007 sex tape featuring Hogan and Heather Clem, the then wife of his friend, radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge Clem. The tape was secretly recorded without Hogan's knowledge or consent, capturing 3 separate sexual encounters. This wasn't just an invasion of privacy. This was a complete violation of trust by someone Hogan considered a close friend. Hogan filed a lawsuit against Gawker in 2013, seeking $100 million for invasion of privacy, infringement of personality rights, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The trial, held in March 2016 in Pinellas County, Florida, became a media sensation and a landmark case for privacy rights in the digital age. The jury's verdict was absolutely stunning. They awarded Hogan $115 million in compensatory damages, $55 million for economic injuries, $60 million for emotional distress, and $25 million in punitive damages, totaling $140 million. The case was eventually settled in November 2016 for $31 million, with financial backing from billionaire Peter Thiel, who had a personal vendetta against Gawker for outing him as gay. The massive verdict led to Gawker Media's bankruptcy and eventual sale to Univision for $135 million in 2016, effectively ending one of the internet's most controversial media outlets. Heather Clem's testimony during the 2016 trial revealed the disturbing circumstances behind the recording. She stated that her husband Bubba encouraged her to have sex with Hogan and recorded the encounters without their knowledge. She expressed regret about the situation and later divorced Bubba. Bubba, the Love Sponge Clem, settled with Hogan for $5,000 in 2012, issuing a public apology. It is my belief that Hulk is not involved and has not ever been involved in trying to release the video or exploit it or otherwise gain from the video's release in any way. He committed to helping find the tape's leaker, though the damage had already been done. The sex tape scandal had far-reaching consequences beyond the legal victory. Hogan's marriage to Jennifer McDaniel ended in 2021, partly attributed to the scandal's fallout. The case also set a significant precedent for privacy rights in the digital age, highlighting tensions between press freedom and individual privacy that continue to be relevant today. But these weren't the only controversies that plagued Hogan's career, brother. His involvement in a 1994 steroid trial, where he testified regarding steroid use in WWF, damaged wrestling's image but had less direct impact on his career as he was transitioning to WCW. His contentious 2009 divorce from Linda Hogan, which was heavily publicized through their reality show, drew criticism for both parties' public airing of grievances. In July 2024, influencer Essence Janai accused Hogan of firing her from his Real American Beer campaign for being black, reigniting racism allegations. The allegation fueled online criticism, though Hogan did not publicly respond to these claims. Despite all these controversies, Hogan made genuine efforts to make amends for his wrongdoings, particularly regarding the racism scandal. His charitable work spanned decades and was seen as part of his broader attempt to give back and repair his image. He was named the most requested celebrity of the 1980s for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, granting wishes for children with life-threatening illnesses. His charitable efforts included supporting the American Diabetes Association, co-founding the Dream Seekers Foundation to provide educational resources for Native American children, earning him a humanitarian award from the National Indian Gaming Association in 2008, participating in Special Olympics events, and being inducted into the Boys and Girls Clubs of America Alumni Hall of Fame in 2018 for his continued support. But perhaps the most significant step in Hogan's redemption journey came through his renewed commitment to Christianity. On December 20th, 2023, Hulk Hogan and his wife, Sky Daly Hogan, were baptized at Indian Rocks Baptist Church in Largo, Florida. Hogan shared the moment on social media, writing, "Total surrender and dedication to Jesus is the greatest day of my life. No worries, no hate, no judgment, only love." This public profession of faith was seen by some fans and commentators as a significant step toward redemption. After his death, tributes highlighted this aspect, with figures like Charlie Kirk stating, "Hulk Hogan left us with many memories, but his greatest legacy is that 18 months ago, he and his wife were baptized and gave their lives to Jesus Christ." Brother, when that final bell rang for Terry Jean Bollea on July 24th, 2025, it marked the end of an era that will never be replicated. Whether you remember him as the red and yellow hero who taught millions to train, say their prayers, and eat their vitamins, or as the controversial figure who struggled with his own demons, one thing remains undeniable. Hulk Hogan's impact on professional wrestling and popular culture will echo through the ages, long after the last "what you gonna do" has faded into wrestling history. That's a wrap, guys. To enjoy more of such clips, be sure to click on the card showing on the screen.